something fundamentally shifted. A subtle, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the very bedrock of professional hockey, twisting its organic chaos into something cold, calculated, and undeniably new. The game itself began to hum with a different, unsettling frequency, a sterile precision that felt manufactured. This seismic reordering began not with an explosion, but with a pinpoint, an arrival marked by expectation, yes, but also by an unseen shadow that stretched over the entire landscape of the sport. A premonition of an era where dominance would not be a spectacle, but an unyielding, oppressive weight. Sidney Crosby was not merely a player. He was the genesis of a new strain, a harbinger of an unnatural order. His entrance wasn't a breath of fresh air. It was the slow, deliberate draining of oxygen from every rival ambition. He emerged from the crucible of junior hockey, already an anomaly, a prodigy with the predatory instincts of a seasoned veteran trapped in a teenager's frame. The very air around him seemed to thicken, charged with an unspoken demand for victory, a silent, pervasive pressure that would soon become the standard. He was branded Sid the Kid, a moniker that swiftly became a misnomer because the mind behind those eyes was ancient, ruthless, and programmed for absolute conquest. This wasn't merely about winning. It was about the systematic dismantling of competition, the eradication of doubt, and the imposition of a singular, undeniable will upon the game. He didn't just play hockey. He redefined its operational parameters, transforming every puck drop into a calculated gambit, every shift a move in a grand, unforgiving chess match where he consistently saw 10 steps ahead. His presence alone forced every opponent, every team, every aspiring star to confront an existential threat, a standard of performance so elevated, so relentlessly consistent, that it felt less like a challenge and more like an unavoidable, inevitable reckoning. The league, unprepared for such an unyielding force, watched as its familiar contours began to warp under the pressure of his nascent, yet already overwhelming, influence. He wasn't just joining the game, he was coming to colonize it. The threat wasn't just in his scoring, but in the insidious depth of his preparation, the almost pathological dedication that bled into every fiber of his being. Long before he ever touched NHL ice, Crosby's meticulous dissection of opponents' game tapes, sometimes foregoing sleep entirely, revealed a silent predator studying prey with an eerie, unwavering intensity that promised future devastation. This obsessive vision, an unblinking gaze that anticipated every angle, every weakness, manifested not just in his individual brilliance, but in the way he sculpted entire team dynamics around his unyielding pursuit of perfection. He didn't just join the Penguins. He became a neural network through which their collective consciousness flowed. This profound, almost unnatural mastery over the game's intricacies wasn't a sudden burst of genius. It was an enduring, chilling consistency that defied the brutal attrition of professional sports. Across an era defined by savage physicality and constantly shifting strategies, Crosby remains the only player in NHL history to maintain a points-per-game average above 1.00 for the first 18 seasons of his career, a relentless, unbroken tide of production that seemed to defy human decay. It was a statistical anomaly that whispered of something beyond mere skill, hinting an internal engine of absolute consistency, a machine crafted for perpetual output in an organic world. He became the architect of a new paradigm, relentlessly driving his Pittsburgh Penguins to the pinnacle, seizing 3 Stanley Cup victories in 2009, 2016, and 2017. These weren't mere championships. They were declarations of an unyielding supremacy, each banner a testament to a force that could not be stopped. His 2 Conn Smythe trophies, awarded as playoff MVP, weren't simply accolades. They were pronouncements of his absolute control over the most high-stakes environments, his intelligence and leadership turning pressure into fuel, transforming desperation into calculated advantage. He collected 2 Hart trophies, acknowledging him as the league's most valuable player, and 2 Art Ross trophies for leading the league in scoring. not as a celebration of individual glory, but as proof of his unassailable position at the apex of the hockey food chain. Even in his early years, Crosby's meticulous control extended beyond his own performance, famously designing specific practice drills for teammates, subtly molding the very movements and strategies of those around him, an unseen hand guiding the entire ecosystem towards his singular, devastating objective. His vision wasn't just about seeing the open man. It was about perceiving the entire tapestry of play, anticipating the future, and bending it to his will. His intelligence wasn't merely about processing information. It was about weaponizing it. His leadership wasn't just about inspiring. It was about enforcing a relentless, unyielding standard that crushed anything less than absolute devotion to the craft, transforming the chaotic beauty of hockey into a perfectly calibrated, ruthlessly efficient machine of victory. This wasn't just excellence. It was a cold, clinical, almost sterile perfection that began to feel less like human achievement and more like an engineered phenomenon. The unyielding professionalism, the flawless consistency, the unwavering dedication that Crosby brought to the game were once celebrated as virtues, but over time, they twisted into something unnerving. It was as if the human element, the raw, unpredictable passion, was slowly being filtered out, leaving behind a perfectly polished, utterly dominant, yet strangely bloodless form of hockey. He didn't just raise the bar. He replaced it with an impossibly high, smooth wall that offered no purchase for those who dared to chase. The generation of players who idolized him, who sought to emulate his relentless pursuit of perfection, were not just inspired. They were subtly reprogrammed. They learned to strive for a consistency that verged on the robotic, a dedication that often stripped away the spontaneous joy of the game in favor of relentless, analytical self-improvement. It became less about flair and more about flawless execution, less about individual brilliance and more about subservience to an optimized system. The organic messiness, the glorious imperfections that once defined hockey, began to recede, replaced by a meticulous, almost suffocating efficiency. His era wasn't just a testament to one man's greatness. It was a slow, inexorable shift toward a sanitized, predictable form of competition where the outcome, when he was involved, felt less like a contest and more like an inevitable unfolding of a pre-written script. The very essence of the game, once a wild, untamed beast, was being domesticated, refined, and packaged into something so consistently dominant, so relentlessly professional, that it started to feel antiseptic. This absolute control, this unceasing drive for an almost inhuman level of perfection, created a hockey landscape where the joy of true uncertainty, the thrill of genuine chaos, was systematically eradicated. The constant, almost oppressive presence of his unparalleled consistency, his unwavering dedication, his sheer, unyielding will to win, began to feel like a slow, deliberate strangulation of the spontaneous, unpredictable beauty that once defined the sport. It was a sterile, unsettling dominance that, for all its undeniable brilliance, left a strange, metallic taste in the mouth. And as the curtain slowly descends on his reign, we are left to wonder what fresh horrors he has unleashed upon the beautiful game.